Hey, thank you for coming. Wow.
Hello.
8:15 a.m., second morning before the developer keynote. I appreciate you for turning out here this morning so that we can talk a little bit about Firebase.
So, good morning. I'm John. I'm a group product manager here at Google.
And I'm Rich, and I head up the Platforms and Solutions Developer Relations teams at Google. This talk is really, John's going to sit down for a sec. This talk's really an introduction to Firebase with a focus on launching, iterating, and improving your applications. There's another talk at 11:45 a.m. this morning, the other side of the developer keynote, which is like the second half of this talk, which is focused on building applications, the database side, and it's called Building Full Stack Applications Using Firebase in Cloud, the other side of the developer keynote. Firebase, hopefully some of you know it, is Google's app development platform, and we bring the best of Google to developers in an app-centric way. Our mission across our simple but powerful DB products, storage, analytics, distribution, testing, and optimization is to help you build and grow apps that your users love. It still works. We have over 3 million developers using the platform and billions of end users across all the app stores and the web. Dev teams around the world have been using Firebase for years to power their applications. Maybe if I walk closer to this thing. OK. Like you, we're also cross-platform. Firebase is easy to integrate with Android, Flutter, iOS, the web, and we support Swift, Kotlin, and we have a number of web libraries as well. It makes it very easy to integrate across your entire portfolio of applications, and you can ship your cross-platform apps easily with Firebase. But getting into the details, Firebase is a full suite of tools and services to help you build and launch applications. We help you develop your apps with fully managed backend services, running your apps with testing and monitoring, and powerful tools to engage your users and maximize revenue and reduce churn. This is the full suite, from building the backend, authentication, functions, real-time databases. That first pillar is the things that's going to be covered in the talk later today. Then improving your app and engaging is what we're talking about today. Crashlytics, performance monitoring, remote config, A/B testing, a whole bunch of super powerful tools to ensure your apps are the best they can be. And this is the set we're looking at today. And normally you would go to the Firebase console to find all of these, firebase.google.com. But hot off the press, launching this week, we have the new app development section in the Google Cloud Console as well. It's right at the top of the Google Cloud Console now, right under Build with Cloud Overview and Product Solutions. We now have app development as well. So you can find all of Firebase and Google Cloud as one big product suite together to help you build your entire app and launch it. This is our new page inside the Google Cloud Console. But getting back on topic, you've got an application. You know that users, they'll uninstall it if it's buggy or crashy, has issues, freezes. So we need to kick off with a focus on app quality. Maybe I'll change hands. OK. App quality. How do you gain confidence that your app is high quality? We've got 3 different things to get you through it. You need to test your app on lots of devices, a huge wide variety of devices. There's lots out there. Lots of different issues can come up. You want to get your app into the hands of people to test it. And of course, you want to understand how your app is behaving in the real world once you've launched it. So to kick off the first one of those 3 things, we have Firebase Test Lab. Firebase Test Lab helps you test on multiple devices. Google has data centers with devices in there. Manual on-device testing isn't that scalable. You've probably been there, like stacks of devices in your office, or there's someone in your office with stacks of devices. Devices going out of date, trying to maintain all the firmwares, keep them all up to date. It's an absolute nightmare. So we have Test Lab with real devices, real production devices, multiple firmwares, all those things running in our data centers to make automated testing of your devices, your applications on devices much easier. The easiest type of tests we have you can run in Test Lab are robo-test, fully automated tests. It will take a look at your application. It will try and navigate through the application, click on all the important bits, pressing buttons and navigating to screens, maximizing test coverage. So you can just set and forget with robo-tests. You can also customize them. If your app has a login screen that you need to go through before you can do anything meaningful, you can give it credentials, things like that. And things like text fields, search fields, you can also put intelligent text in there so you know what the robot tests are doing. So you can customize them a little bit, but they're pretty much going to run through your app automatically. You can also integrate it with your own CI/CD pipelines. We have the Google Cloud CLI, which you can integrate with that. And TestLab also has virtual devices. It's like a more cost-effective and consistent way of testing your app. If you're going to put it inside a pipeline and run it all the time, some of the physical devices can be more expensive, but we have the virtual devices as well, which are much cheaper to do high loads of testing on effectively. So what if you have a specific error on a specific device? It's not going to help if you're just testing on a huge wide variety of devices and you don't want to go and buy that one device. How do you get hold of a specific device? We've just launched this recently. We have device streaming now in Android Studio, where you can go through in Android Studio, you can go through the device manager there, go through TestLab and choose an individual device and check it out into your IDE. You can do all the normal stuff you'd expect. You can rotate it, you can flip and fold devices, things like that. And that's way more powerful than just kind of the remote device testing, because now it's here. You've got all your normal tools as well for debugging, analyzing, memory analytics, all that stuff connects straight through to the data center, and you can debug your entire app through Android Studio with your stack traces without having to go and buy the device. So now you've run some automated tests. Maybe you've looked at a single device in Android Studio, but you want to get your app into the hands of some real users, some end users. For that, Firebase has app distribution in its list of products. App distribution can be a bit of a pain if you're going through the app stores, if you're uploading APKs and AABs and waiting for approvals before pushing them out to end users. So we have app distribution to take that pain away for you. There's no required SDKs to install and no forms to fill out. You just distribute your app to testers instantly with no approvals. As simple as uploading your distribution, add some release notes, send it out to the testers. There's several ways you can do it with app distribution. You can use Fastlane, if you use Fastlane already, the Gradle plugin, or you can manage it manually via the Firebase console as well. You can just go into the Firebase console and upload an APK, put your list of email addresses for your testers in there, add some release notes, and kick it all off with a click of a button. And then your testers will get an email notification straight away. They'll get an invite to install the Firebase app tester application. And from there, they can see all the different distributions you've given them access to. They can manage all their testing. And it's simple for them, so they can focus on testing your app and giving you feedback. And they don't need to worry about finding ways to download the app and all the other things. And then the app updates come straight through the app tester app as well. And then, to bring testing and distribution together, we made one extra function on the top of it, which is automated tester for app distribution. So this brings together both the testing, but also the distribution as well. And we can smoke test. Sorry, I forgot the word smoke for a second there. We can smoke test your applications as you're uploading them. So you upload each version from your pipeline or manually, and we'll do a quick smoke test of that app, make sure it's still running on the same variety of versions that you had. Just checking the core functionality of your app. It's quick, it's lightweight. At about 15 minutes after an upload, you'll get a report from the smoke tester. It'll have screenshots, video recordings, any issues it found. So if there was anything that you didn't quite catch before uploading it for testing, we now also try and catch it for you with automated smoke testing. Okay. So we did automated testing in TestLab. We did some manual testing through direct device access. And you've got your app, excuse me, you've got your app out to a few testers who are now running it manually on their devices. So the next step for you is you're going to publish it out to the app stores. You've got your app, you're pretty confident in it, you publish it out to the app stores, and you want to make sure that it's stable in production, running well, and not having any issues, which is where Crashlytics comes in. Stats say that 62% of users will uninstall applications that are buggy, experience crashes, freezes, have errors, that sort of thing. Buggy apps also lead to poor app store reviews, and we know how much of an effect that can have. So with Crashlytics, not only does it help you find those errors happening on the real devices, you can monitor your app stability, you can understand the errors. We put a lot of effort into helping you understand the errors, grouping crashes together, really going into the details, trying to find tricky memory errors, those kind of things, so that you don't have to spend as much time debugging. And if you want to dig in even deeper, you can export it all off to BigQuery, do some analysis on it up there. Common use cases we see people using Crashlytics for. You can get alerts. If a percentage of your user sessions are starting to have issues, if you cross a threshold, we can start sending you alerts. People don't just want to monitor the bad cases, they also want to monitor the happy users. You can get percentages of crash-free users as well. You can reproduce crashes faster. We've embedded now Crashlytics into the tools that you like, that you love, and get details of specific groups of people and specific groups of devices that are being affected by the crashes. We also do specific work with the Android NDK, Unity, Swift, and other things so that we can understand the crashes coming from those areas as well to help you out. So if you're using any of these, obviously Kotlin, well supported in Android, but the NDK, Swift, Unity, things like that, we've done some extra work for you so that we can understand and help you debug those issues. So the two steps, obviously, you need to find your crashes first. There will be crashes, so you need to prioritize them, find the ones that are most important to fix, and then fix them by finding those lines of code that are troublesome. And finding the crash can be way harder. I mean, if you are a developer and you're debugging your app, it can be way harder to find a crash that you might imagine. Even with the prioritized crashes, some impactful crashes could be missed. So it doesn't just require a detailed stack trace, but also the additional information and metadata to help you get to the bottom of the root cause of the app issue. So we've extended Crashlytics into the surfaces you're using. We've extended it now into Android Studio to help you find those memory errors and help you with the debugging. So going into Android Studio, we have this new App Quality Insights window. Previously, you'd have to go into the Firebase console to find the crashes. The crashes would get reported from the app. It would go into the Firebase console, and you'd go through them. You try and figure that out where that is in your code. But now you can get it directly into Android Studio, and you can see your crashes, your application not responding errors, and they're aggregated with the deep links directly into the code. It looks like this. This is our App Quality Insights window inside. So you have to link your Firebase and Android accounts together. And from then on, it can pipe in crashes straight into Android Studio for you. Then you get clickable stack traces direct into your app. And we implemented that a while back, but then we received feedback, of course, that you'd launch a new version of the app. You'd be running, you'd be developing a different version of the app in your IDE to the one that was live. So the stack traces that were coming in wouldn't match up with what you were actually working on. So we went ahead and made a few more updates. Now by linking it to Play, you can also see your Play tracks. So you can link the crashes come in, and it will tell you exactly which version of your application the crashes happened on. And then you can get that version open in your IDE. You can click through, and the line numbers will all match up with the developer work you're doing at the time. And we also added signals. So developers don't have to remember all the crashes that are going on. They can see if this is an early, a repetitive crash, something that's new, something that's regressed, something that in the previous version didn't happen is now happening. So we put in signals, we've connected it to the Play Store, and we've connected it to the Firebase console for you. So it's all in Android Studio, and a super powerful set of tools for helping to debug crashes that are happening live in the field. As soon as the crash happens, it's real-time straight into Android Studio for your developers to start debugging. Another feature we've been working on quite a lot recently is crash grouping, which isn't as easy as it sounds. Stack traces can be similar but slightly different. Line numbers might not match up, and you're not quite sure where the crashes originated from. So we've looked for ways that apps can crash in similar ways when they're generating almost identical stack traces and then highlighting that for the developers. So crashes can have common points of failure, but from different code paths, for example. There could be crash happening here and here, but actually it's the same point that's actually causing the crash in the end. So to help developers get to the bottom of that, we've had crash grouping like this before, where we group multiple crashes into a single issue. But now we're looking for grouping where the start point of the crash was different, but then the end point is the same. So we've called these new things, these subgroupings, variants of crashes as well. So now developers can just go in and see there's the same crash happening across multiple areas of the code base with multiple variants, and they can try and fix that one thing and solve all these issues at the same time. And we improved our grouping algorithm as well. The grouping algorithm had been similar for a few years. We took feedback from developers, and the way that we group crashes had remained unchanged, but now we'll see fewer duplicates. Before, if the line number had changed, it would come up as a brand new issue for you. Now it won't. Now it'll be listed against the previous issue. There's more meaningful alerts and signals, since the new issues that you do get actually do represent new bugs. And we've added more metadata into all the crashes, so you can search for it as well. OK. So that was Crashlytics, a whole suite to help you see what's going on in the real world with your application, debug it, and keep your app super stable. The next thing that's important is the performance of your application in the real world. So we have performance monitoring, well titled. So just like Crashlytics is helping you understand crashes that are going on in the real world, performance monitoring, even if your app isn't crashing, you want to know how it's performing in the real world. And you just have to integrate, drop in the performance monitoring SDK, and it's going to start reporting for you instantly without you having to do anything else. There's a whole load of default things that you'll get and critical aspects of performance. For native apps, it's going to start logging startup time, rendering data by screens, activity while in the foreground and background. For web apps, we have this as well. Most of our tools are working across all mobile and web apps. The SDK for web apps is going to be first contentful paint, ability for users to interact with your app when it's actually rendered to the point that users can interact with it, and more. And you get a nice dashboard. You can also further extend it once you've dropped the SDK, and you can measure anything that you want. So if you have a new custom screen that you've put in, you want to measure the performance of that, the developer can just put the tags in, and we'll start reporting straight back on that. Across different versions of your app, different devices, regions, mobile connections. We give you all the information on how they're connecting. So if they're on Wi-Fi, if they're on 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, you can see if some of those things are really impacting your app. If someone on 3G, suddenly the screen's taking a long time to load, your developers need to go in and focus on that thing so they can optimize the experience for the users that are having the worst experience and level it up for everybody. So the users that may be tempted to rate your app poorly, you can see those ahead of time. You can go in, you can fix it. And you can also compare those metrics for regressions across app versions as well. OK. That was Crashlytics and performance monitoring. I'm going to sneak one final new feature in. Excited about it before handing over to John. Because even with Crashlytics and performance monitoring, it can be daunting to roll out a new version of an application. You can see it going out to your users, and you have to check all the dashboards, make sure everything's OK. So we've recently taken all the data and rolled it into our new release monitoring dashboard. Now, there's a way to be confident that your app is stable. The new versions of your app are stable as they're going out into production. You and your team can keep track of the new version update, see if there's any new bugs, any impact from other bugs, and you can compare it to previous releases. So we give you a whole set of things just to give you extra confidence that the new versions of your application are rolling out smoothly. We used to have a latest release page inside the Firebase console, and now this is kind of the big enhanced version of that, and it's all real time for you. This adds now more data, and it doesn't need the Google Analytics SDK to be installed. OK. So that's a lot about getting your app ready for production and getting it out in production. I'm going to hand over to John to talk about iterating and optimizing your app.
Thanks so much for joining us early on this Wednesday morning. I'm going to keep things rolling with an introduction to remote config and some of the problems that it can help to solve. Once I figure out how to use the clicker. We both had that trouble. So remote config helps app developers like you to safely roll out new features and optimize apps. It's useful for configuring live apps without the need to perform a release, targeting user experiences to particular segments, managing features with feature flags, and optimizing app performance using A/B testing and personalization. At its core, remote config is a key value store in the cloud that can be updated through a user-friendly console interface. Mobile and web clients can fetch targeted key value pairs from remote config and use the results to drive nearly any aspect of application behavior. Remote config automatically handles caching and default values, so clients can continue to function even when losing connectivity. Remote config integrates with Google Analytics and Crashlytics to support powerful targeting and optimization options. And with remote config's flexible targeting options, you can create configuration values specific to your Canadian users or users who recently opened the app for the first time or users who are using a particular app version. Our integration with Google Analytics gives you additional targeting options like audiences and user properties. With a large set of user properties and audiences and other targeting options, it's straightforward to create deeply customized experiences based on your users' characteristics and their preferences, and all of this can be completely controlled from within the Firebase console. Last but not least, remote config can deliver configuration settings in concert with A/B testing, which means that any variable that you have tied to remote config can be the basis for an A/B test. But more on that in a moment. First, I'd like to do a deeper dive on feature flagging using remote config. When you set up a feature flag using a remote config parameter, you gain control over the feature release process. Feature flags can help you reduce risk and increase your feature release velocity. With a feature flag in place, it's straightforward to toggle a feature live or quickly disable a feature that's not performing as you expect. For riskier changes, you can choose to gradually roll out your feature to a random percentage of your user base. It's also possible to make use of remote config's flexible targeting options to launch features to a select group of users in order to gain confidence before a broader launch. With feature flags, it's possible to ship faster by decoupling the feature release process from the app version release process. In a world without feature flags, it's more common to have features built in isolated feature branches that are relatively long-lived. Features are merged back into the main branch when they're finished. When feature branches are isolated from the trunk and each other, there's a greater potential for merge conflicts. And due to the high stakes involved with releasing a feature without feature flags, pre-release testing needs to be especially rigorous. Feature flagging helps to support more frequent integration of feature branches, which can help to reduce the potential for merge conflicts. Features are incrementally added and frequently merged back to the trunk. And because feature functionality is gated by a feature flag, it's possible to merge unfinished features without exposing it to the app user. Features are turned on when they're ready, and the feature flag provides a safety valve in the event that the release doesn't go as planned. Next, I'd like to share an overview of A/B testing and how it can be used in your development process to help your team optimize apps. Firebase A/B testing is a simple yet powerful tool for performing experiments. A/B testing works in coordination with remote config, cloud messaging, and Google Analytics to find more optimal app experiences. When using A/B testing, the first step is determining who you want to place in your experiment. It could be your entire app population, but A/B testing provides you with a number of ways to customize your target audience. You could run your experiment with a random percentage of your users if you don't want to expose your entire user base to an untested change. Or if you're experimenting with a particular localization, you can limit your experiment just to people who have a particular language setting. And if you're trying out a new loyalty program, you could limit your experiment just to users who have purchased in the past. Next, you'll tell A/B testing what to change for each variant in your experiment. If you're testing out different notifications, for instance, you can use A/B testing in coordination with cloud messaging to determine the proper message text to send to each variant. Or if you're looking to make changes to the in-app experience, you can use A/B testing with remote config. You can wire up nearly any variable in your app to use remote config, and this gives you a ton of freedom in what you can change. You can set individual values, or you could also deliver a JSON string that represents a set of coordinated options. After that, you just need to decide what goals you want to achieve from your experiment, And this might be something like increasing your in-app purchase revenue or user retention. But your goal can really be anything that you're interested in measuring using analytics. Once all of that is done, you're on the beach. You can sit back and relax and let the A/B test do its work. It'll automatically split your target set into variants, deliver the experiences that you've designated within your A/B test, measure the results, calculate statistical significance. These results are then presented to you in an easy-to-understand format along with the statistical significance and confidence intervals. Depending on the results, you can roll out the winning experience to the rest of your target users. Finally, I'd like to provide an introduction to cloud messaging, which is our powerful, scalable solution for cross-platform messaging. Cloud messaging is useful for sending notifications across Android, iOS, and the web. Like remote config, cloud messaging integrates with analytics to provide targeting options and message engagement analytics. Firebase cloud messaging is powerful and scalable, delivering hundreds of billions of messages per day for more than 250,000 applications. And because cloud messaging is a part of Firebase, it integrates with our other Firebase products, giving you targeting and optimization options to make sure you're reaching the right users with the right message. If you want to send targeting messages to users who have performed a specific action, you can do that with Google Analytics audiences. And if you don't know what message will be most effective for a given situation, you can send different messages through Firebase A/B testing to see which one is most effective at driving the behavior that you're looking for. We hope you've enjoyed today's introduction to Firebase's monitoring and engagement tools and how they can be used to speed modern application development. If this talk has piqued your curiosity about Firebase, there is another talk at 11:45 today called Build Full Stack Applications Using Firebase and Google Cloud, which covers the backend services and how they can be used in developing an app. So on behalf of Rich and myself, thanks so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you around the conference. Thank you.